He sabotaged my boat and left me stranded," screamed my HOA president into a 911 call while she sat in my stolen speedboat in the middle of the night. The irony was unreal. She'd taken off in my boat without so much as asking, then phoned the police to brand me as the villain. But what Patricia didn't realize was that I could track and even control everything from my phone. This woman, convinced she'd teach me a lesson about community standards, was about to face a harsh dose of reality. What happened next became the most outrageous HOA Karen meltdown anyone had ever seen. Before we dive in, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Ever had your own run-in with a power-hungry HOA president? Hey everyone, welcome back to BD Stories. Today's story is truly unbelievable. Stick around to hear the full tale and share your thoughts below. 6 months ago, I thought I'd found my slice of paradise when I bought a house by Pine Lake. My name's Jake Mitchell, I'm 38, and after my software startup got acquired, I traded my cramped city apartment for a home with actual breathing space. The best part wasn't even the house itself, though it was nice enough. It was my morning routine. Instead of battling traffic for hours, I could zip across the lake in my speedboat, Thunderbolt, and be at my office in 15 minutes. Calm water, mist rising off the lake, and the deep, satisfying rumble of the engine. Way better than traffic jams and blaring horns. But Patricia Stone had other plans for my peaceful life. At 62, she'd been HOA president for 8 years, ever since her husband passed away and left her with the biggest house on the lake. With seemingly nothing better to do, she turned policing her neighbors into a full-time job. A retired librarian, Patricia loved rules almost as much as she hated noise. Living alone in her sprawling home, her favorite pastime seemed to be dreaming up new ways to make everyone else's life harder. Somehow, she always appeared just as you were about to enjoy yourself, a clipboard in hand, ready to cite a regulation you'd supposedly broken. The first sign of trouble came the very first week. Patricia sent me a welcome letter that was basically 12 pages of HOA rules, highlighted from top to bottom. I skimmed it, chuckled at how intense she was, and set it aside. Week 2 brought an official complaint that my boat engine was supposedly louder than 65 decibels in the morning. I checked the specs. My engine topped out at 58 decibels, well within the rules. I politely emailed her back with proof, thinking that would be the end of it. Patricia, of course, wasn't interested in facts. By week 3, I got another complaint. My dock supposedly extended 3.2 feet past the limit. She even included photos from different angles, complete with a measuring tape in every shot. I measured again and confirmed my dock was exactly to code. Week 4 topped them all. Patricia claimed my life jacket, hung on my balcony, violated community aesthetic standards. The rule she cited, a section 4.7a, actually covered patio furniture, not safety gear. My patience was wearing thin, but I still tried to stay civil. Then came the moment that became neighborhood legend. That week, Patricia decided to document my supposed violations with a massive telephoto camera. She hid behind a tree near my house, camera trained on my dock like she was filming a nature documentary. As I stepped outside to start the boat, I saw her immediately. Instead of getting mad, I waved cheerfully. Morning, Patricia. Great day for birdwatching. She jumped so hard she stumbled backward, tripped over her tripod, and fell straight into the shallow water. Her expensive camera followed, disappearing beneath the surface with a splash. Despite everything, I waded in to help her up and fished out her dripping camera. Thank you, she mumbled, mascara streaking down her face, drenched and embarrassed. I was just a broken bar photographing wildlife. Handing her the ruined camera, I smiled. The wildlife must be fascinating around here. Same time tomorrow? Her face turned bright red as neighbors peeked out to see the commotion. That's when I knew polite emails and measurements weren't going to cut it. The next home meeting arrived like a thunderstorm you can see coming. Patricia showed up armed with a PowerPoint titled The Jake Mitchell Problem, a threat to community standards. She had charts, handouts, and had even mailed out invitations to everyone on the block. Only about a dozen neighbors came, but Patricia carried on like she was addressing a packed auditorium. For 20 minutes, she read through a 47-point list of my supposed violations: noise complaints, dock measurements, decibel readings she'd taken with her phone, and diagrams she'd drawn herself. It was clear she'd spent more time tracking my routine than most people spend at work. When she finally finished, I stood up calmly with a single manila folder. "Thanks, Patricia." "Very thorough," I began. I opened the folder and explained. Article 2, Section 3, boats under 25 feet can run between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. My boat's 22 feet, and I only use it from 7 to 6. Turning the page, I added, Section 4.1, private docks aren't subject to HOA spacing rules. And Section 4.7? It's about patio furniture and not life jackets. Patricia's face went pale as she realized her entire report was built on the wrong rules. "You think you're so clever with your loopholes," she snapped. "They're not loopholes, Patricia. They're the actual rules," I replied. The room started to murmur, neighbors nodding in agreement. Patricia, after years of control, was losing the crowd. That night, I sat at my computer and opened my custom boat control app. Originally, it was just for maintenance tracking, but now I added GPS tracking, engine diagnostics, and one more thing I hoped I'd never have to use, remote engine control. If Patricia planned to take things further, I was going to be ready. I wanted to be ready because something told me Patricia wasn't finished yet. Those 12 pages of highlighted HOA rules were only her opening move. What made her so determined to control every ripple of life on the lake? And how far would she go once she realized official complaints wouldn't work? Comment below. Have you ever had a neighbor like Patricia? Type Karen if you think she's about to do something truly reckless. The week after the HOA meeting, Patricia launched what she called her documentation phase. Her public humiliation had curdled into obsession. She hired a man named Jerry from a shady online classified ad. He claimed to be a private investigator, but the $58 day rate, battered Honda Civic, and beat-up fedora made him look more like someone playing detective for fun. Jerry's mission: follow me, Jake Mitchell, and document every possible violation, no matter how trivial. Day 1 was a comedy of errors. Jerry parked across the street before sunrise, clutching a thermos and a pair of plastic-looking binoculars. I spotted him immediately from my kitchen window. When I waved, he ducked, spilling hot coffee all over his lap. I could hear his cursing from inside my house. Day 2, I saw him crouched awkwardly behind trees by the lake. During my evening jog, I stopped next to him and asked, "You must be Jerry." Patricia mentioned something about community monitoring. "Need some water?" He froze like a raccoon caught in headlights. "Bird watching," he muttered. "Nice. What species?" "You a broken bar blue-footed lakey bird." I laughed. "Pretty sure you mean the great blue heron." "No blue feet, but good luck." His ears turned red. By day 3, Jerry had given up entirely. I caught him sitting in a local coffee shop, playing Candy Crush and scribbling fake notes into a pad. But Patricia? She wasn't ready to quit. When spying failed, she went full bureaucratic. Anonymous complaints flooded into every agency she could think of. First, County Noise Control. An inspector tested my boat and measured 54 dB well within legal limits and even complimented my maintenance. Next, the Coast Guard. She accused me of reckless operation, but they ended up praising my safety record and adding me to their list of exemplary recreational boaters. Finally, she called the EPA, claiming fuel runoff from my boat was poisoning the lake. After testing, they declared Pine Lake a model of environmental safety and recognized us in their Community Excellence Program. Every failed complaint only made Patricia more desperate. Convinced I'd bribed everyone, she snapped. If the system couldn't stop me, she'd do it herself. She studied my routine: leave at 7 a.m., back by 6 p.m., lights out by 10 o'clock. One Tuesday night, dressed in black yoga pants and a hoodie, her idea of stealth gear, she crept onto my dock just before midnight. What she didn't know was I'd installed security cameras 2 weeks earlier. At 11:47 p.m., the footage showed Patricia emerging from the bushes, flashlight in hand. She tripped over a rope, stumbled onto the deck, and accidentally honked the boat horn. Wide-eyed, she froze for nearly a minute before tiptoeing to the engine hatch. Clearly clueless, she pulled out her phone and started Googling how to sabotage a boat. She unscrewed a decorative trim piece, which immediately dropped into the lake. She flinched, then poked around uselessly with a screwdriver, muttering, This has to do something. Then came the big move. She poured a bag of sand into what she thought was the gas tank, but it was actually the cup holder. Finally, she planted a manila envelope labeled confidential on the driver's seat, as if framing me for something. As she turned to leave, her yoga pants caught on a cleat, tearing them open. One shoe slipped off into the water, and she hobbled away barefoot, muttering, "That'll teach him to humiliate me." The next morning, I sipped coffee and reviewed the footage. Instead of anger, I felt a strange pity, but her escalation was dangerous. So I called my old college friend Sam Brooks, now the local police captain. "Sam, my HOA president has gone from nuisance to criminal. Last night, she tried to sabotage my boat. I've got the whole thing on camera." "Let me guess, power-hungry HOA president?" "Bingo. And I think she's planning something worse." "You want to press charges?" "Not yet. I want her to walk right into something she can't explain away." "You're setting a trap?" "Yes. Let her think she's won. Let her steal the buta and then we nail her mid-crime." Sam hesitated. "You sure?" "It'll destroy her. She's already ruined her own reputation. I'm just giving her the last shove." We planned it out. I upgraded the boat's GPS to live tracking, installed a remote engine shutoff I could trigger from my phone, and left fake confidential documents and a spare key on board. Sam arranged patrol coverage so they could intervene at the perfect moment. To make the bait convincing, I booked a hotel room 2 hours away, posted on social media about a business retreat, and made sure Patricia overheard me telling my landscaper, "I'll be out of town this weekend." That night, as I double-checked the new boat controls, a news alert popped up. Pine Lake HOA President Patricia Stone was facing a no-confidence petition signed by 15 residents. Was that the final straw? Comment below. Was I going too far, or did Patricia bring this on herself? Type drop if you think she was about to fall right into it. "I'll be gone Thursday through Sunday," I told my landscaper loudly enough for Patricia to hear. "Keep an eye on things, especially the boat." Thursday afternoon, I drove to the hotel, checked in, and took a selfie in the lobby to post online. Then I quietly doubled back. I parked my car in the hotel garage, where it wouldn't be seen, and took a rideshare to my friend Mike's apartment, about half an hour from Pine Lake. From there, I had perfect internet to monitor the security cameras and GPS tracker on the buta, all while maintaining my alibi. I called Sam. "Phase 1 complete. I'm officially out of town, but actually watching from Mike's place." "The spare key?" he asked. "Sitting right on the boat seat, a hard to miss. And the confidential documents bag is there too." "What's actually in the bag?" "Printouts of cookie recipes I found online. If she opens it, she'll get my grandma's chocolate chip recipe and Martha Stewart's snickerdoodles." Sam laughed. "And if she doesn't take the bait, then maybe she isn't as far gone as I think." But honestly, I doubt that'll be the case. That same Thursday, Patricia got news that broke her last tether to restraint. The HOA board had called a special meeting for Tuesday to address a petition demanding her immediate removal as president. 18 residents had signed. The complaints cut deep: excessive fines for trivial infractions, harassment of neighbors, wasting HOA funds on personal vendettas, and turning the neighborhood into a hostile place. Patricia sat alone in her living room, rereading the petition. Harold's photo on the mantel seemed to judge her silently. "I'm protecting what we built, Harold," she whispered into her wine glass. Across the dark lake, my boat sat quietly at its dock, mocking her authority. In her mind, this had stopped being about HOA rules. It had become about respect and about proving she'd been right about me all along. Fueled by wine and growing resentment, I became the embodiment of everything she'd lost control over. She made one last call to Jerry. "I need you to do something more direct. Break into his property. Find what he's hiding." "Ma'am, that's breaking and entering. I can't do that." "You're fired." She hung up. Friday, around 11 p.m., Patricia decided to do it herself. All in black, she brought a backpack stuffed with fake evidence, a bag of suspicious-looking white powder, actually flour, a few USB drives, and forged financial documents. I watched from Mike's apartment, cameras streaming to my laptop. "She's making her move." I texted Sam. "I'm 10 minutes from the boat launch," he replied. "Don't trigger anything until I'm ready." At the dock, Patricia spotted the spare key right away. "Too easy," she muttered, instantly suspicious. She picked it up, examined it like it might explode, then circled the boat again and again for nearly 20 minutes, phone in hand, taking photos of everything, still half believing it was a trap. Then she opened the confidential bag. Add chocolate chips gradually while mixing on medium speed. A broken bar, she read aloud, her brows knitted. What the hell? More pages. Snickerdoodle recipes. Holiday fudge. For a moment, her conspiracy theory crumbled. Maybe I really was just a neighbor who liked baking and boating. But then rage returned, worse than before. He's making fun of me, she hissed. He knew I'd look, and now he's laughing at me. She pocketed the spare key and stomped home, but the key felt hot in her pocket, like a dare she couldn't ignore. Saturday, 1 a.m. Patricia lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the petition, the loss of respect, the neighbors turning against her. Just one boat ride, she whispered. Let him feel powerless for once. She got up, grabbed the key, and headed back to the dock. Her mind set. She's back. I texted Sam. Looks like the real attempt. Patricia climbed aboard my boat, slid the key into the ignition, and started the engine. It purred to life. I'm in position at the launch, Sam replied. The moment you cut the engine, I'll move. At 1:15 a.m., Patricia sat behind the wheel of my speedboat. The lake stretched before her, moonlight glinting off the water. For the first time in months, she felt powerful and unstoppable. Let's see how you like losing something important, she muttered, and pushed the throttle forward. The GPS showed Thunderbolt accelerating across the water. 20 mph, broken bar, 38 broken bar, 48 broken bar. She kept going, and for a second, watching her, I almost pitied her. In that moment, she probably felt alive again, free, in control. But the joyride was about to end. Is Patricia really about to throw away everything over a neighborhood feud? Hit the comments. Should I stop her now, or let her dig herself in deeper? Type stop or go to vote. Patricia felt the rush of freedom as she piloted the speedboat across the moonlit lake. The water was empty, still, and for the first time since Harold's death, she felt truly alive and in control. This is what power feels like, she shouted into the wind, pushing the throttle to 45 miles per hour. Watching the GPS tracker from Mike's apartment, I felt a strange mix of irritation and reluctant respect. She'd actually stolen my boot, but she was going for it. She's hitting 50 now, I texted Sam. She's really enjoying herself. How long are you going to let her run? Sam asked. A few more minutes, I replied. Let her get comfortable. Let her think she's won. Patricia guided Thunderbolt in wide circles, each loop feeding her conviction that this wasn't theft, it was justice. In her mind, she wasn't breaking the law, she was reclaiming the lake from the neighbor who dared to challenge her authority. She even passed her own house, lifted a hand, and mockingly waved at Harold's photo in the window. Look at me now, Harold, I'm fixing this. The speed, the power, it was intoxicating. Feeling bold, she turned toward the far end of the lake, planning to leave the boat out there as a final insult. She's heading for deep water, I texted Sam. Time to wrap this up. I'm ready, he replied. I hovered over the engine kill button on my phone. At 1:27 a.m., I pressed it. Thunderbolt's engine died instantly. Silence swallowed Patricia's triumph. She lurched forward, barely keeping her grip on the wheel as the boat coasted another 200 yards before drifting to a stop. What the hell? She shouted, turning the key again and again. Nothing. Panic set in. She pounded the dashboard, checked the propeller, even looked under the seats, as if an answer might hide there. But it was no use. The night air, barely 55 degrees, cut through her thin black clothes. Sobriety crept in, bringing dread with it. The shore seemed impossibly far away. This can't be happening. This can't be happening. She checked her phone. Full battery. Good signal. Calling a friend was impossibly. How would she explain being on my boat at nearly 2 a.m.? Then she remembered. I was out of town. I wouldn't know the boat was missing until Sunday. In desperation, Patricia dialed 911. Her voice, shaky from cold and panic, both real and feigned, came alive with practiced victimhood. 911. What's your emergency? I'm stranded on Pine Lake. I think someone's trying to hurt me. Where exactly are you? In the middle of the lake, in a boat. The engine just died. I can't get back to shore. How did you get there? My neighbor, Jake Mitchell, let me borrow his boat, but now I think he did something to it. He's been harassing me, and this is his revenge. So, someone sabotaged the boat while you were on it? Yes, he has some app that controls the engine. I've seen him use it. This part, ironically, was true. Yeah, I did have an app. Patricia had noticed me using it during maintenance checks. And this is your boat? A long pause. Technically it's his, but he gave me permission. We had a broken bar and arrangement. What kind of arrangement? That's not important. I'm freezing. Just send help. Of course, ma'am. I'm dispatching Marine Patrol now. Can you describe the boat? It's blue, about 20 feet long, called Thunderbolt. But don't listen to Jake when you contact him. He's been trying to get me kicked off the HOA board. This is part of his plan. Listening on my police scanner app, I almost laughed out loud. She's really going all in. I texted Sam, "Are you wearing a life jacket?" The operator asked. No, he didn't provide any. See, this was planned. Check under the seats. There should be life jackets by law. After a pause, okay, I found some. But that doesn't change anything. Patricia pressed on. He trapped me out here. Did you have permission in writing? No, it was verbal, at the HOA meeting. And when was that? Patricia felt the trap tightening. Why are you interrogating me? I'm the victim. Jake Mitchell is the rela. You should be investigating him, not me. Patricia snapped, her voice tight with panic. I'm just gathering information, ma'am. The operator replied evenly. What time did you get on the boat? Earlier this evening, before it got dark. So, you've been out here for several hours. No, I mean, we took a short ride, then I came back, but then the engine died when I tried to leave again. You tried to go out again at 1:30 a.m. Patricia hesitated. I couldn't sleep. I thought a short ride might help, but then he activated his sabotage app. Ma'am, I'm going to transfer you to our Marine unit. They'll be there shortly. Meanwhile, I called Sam directly. She just gave the most ridiculous 911 call I've ever heard. I said, claims I let her borrow my boat, then sabotaged it remotely. I heard it on dispatch, Sam replied, amused. She also admitted to taking your boat at 1:30 a.m. to help her sleep. Are you heading out? Already on the road. Should be there in about half an hour. Perfect. I'm already on the water. Should reach her in 8 minutes. When I do, I'll have to ask her about this arrangement she says you two had. And when she can't prove it, I asked, grinning in the dark, then she'll have to explain why she was using your boat in the middle of the night without permission, Sam said. This should be interesting. Yeah, I laughed. What do you think she'll say once the questions get detailed? Smash that comment button. What do you think Patricia will do when the police start digging? Type busted if you think her story is about to fall apart completely. At 1:45 a.m., Sam's Marine Patrol boat reached Patricia, who launched into her victim act before he even spoke. Thank God you're here, she cried. Jake Mitchell tried to kill me. He has some remote control app that can cut the engine. This was all planned. Sam kept his tone professional. Ma'am, I'm Officer Brooks. Let's get you back to shore safely, then we can talk more. As he towed Thunderbolt behind his boat, Sam started gently pressing her for details. Can you explain again how you ended up on Mr. Mitchell's boat? He gave me permission. We had an arrangement. When was this arrangement made? At the HOA meeting last week. And what time did you board the boat tonight? Patricia's eyes flickered. Earlier, but then I came back later because I couldn't sleep. So, you took the boat twice tonight? No, I mean, yes. But the second time was when he sabotaged it. And Mr. Mitchell was there when you took the boat the second time? No, he's out of town. That's how I know he used the app. So, he gave you permission to use the boat even though he wouldn't be here to supervise? Well, not exactly, but we had an understanding, Patricia insisted. By the time they reached the dock, she had contradicted herself at least 4 times. Ma'am, Sam said gently, I'll need you to come to the station to file a formal complaint. Good, she snapped. I want Jake Mitchell arrested for attempted murder. We'll investigate your claims thoroughly, Sam replied. But I'll also need to speak with Mr. Mitchell. He planned this while he was away. It's his alibi. Then we'll wait for him to return, Sam said calmly. Attempted murder is a serious charge. At 2:15 a.m., Patricia sat in the interview room, coffee growing cold, rehearsing her story. She'd hired a cheap lawyer who immediately called to threaten me. "My client will sue you for entrapment and endangerment," he warned. It was a stressful day. I barely ate, wondering if I'd gone too far. But 24 hours later, I got an email. "Mr. Mitchell, after reviewing the evidence, we're dropping Ms. Stone as a client. The case is too clear-cut." At 2:30 a.m., I arrived at the station, feigning concern. "Officer Brooks, thank God Patricia's safe. What happened to my boat?" Sam played along. "Mr. Mitchell, Miss Stone claims you gave her permission to use your vessel, then disabled it remotely." "Yeah, broken bar what? When did I supposedly give her permission?" Patricia jumped in from across the room. "Don't pretend. We discussed it at the home meeting." I looked at her, genuinely puzzled. "Patricia, I've never given you permission to use my boat." "At that meeting, you were arguing that I shouldn't even have it." "That's a lie." "Tell him, Officer Brooks. Tell him about our arrangement." Sam opened his notepad. "Ms. Stone, can you describe exactly what Mr. Mitchell said to you?" Patricia blinked. "He said I could borrow it any time for HOA business." "Patricia," I said quietly, "we've never spoken privately. Every conversation we've had has been at home meetings, usually when you were trying to get me fined." "You're lying. You gave me the spare key." "What spare key?" She pulled it from her pocket triumphantly. "This one." I took it from her, turning it over. "Patricia broken bar, this is my spare key." "How did you get it?" "You left it for me." "Where did I leave it?" "On the boat seat." I turned to Sam. "Officer, I never gave Patricia a key. If she found it, she had to board the boat without permission first." The room fell silent as Patricia realized her story had just crumbled. Sam leaned forward. "Ms. Stone, are you saying you boarded Mr. Mitchell's boat without his knowledge to retrieve a key you claim he left for you?" "Yeah, that's nota. He knew I'd find it." "Did he tell you to look for it?" "Number." "Did he call or text you about borrowing the boat?" "Number." "Did anyone witness him giving you permission?" "No, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen." Calmly, I placed a USB drive on the table. "Officer, there's something else you should see." "A broken bar, Officer Brooks," I said, sliding the USB drive across the table. "This might clear things up." Sam plugged it into his laptop. "Mr. Mitchell, what am I about to see?" "Security footage from my dock, starting around 11:45 p.m. tonight." On screen, Patricia crept toward the boat dressed in black, located the spare key, and fumbled with the ignition before roaring off across the lake, grinning like she just pulled the heist of the century. "Ms. Stone," Sam said evenly, "this shows you taking Mr. Mitchell's boat at 1:15 a.m. without his knowledge or permission. That qualifies as theft of a motor vehicle." "But he wasn't even home. How could I ask permission?" She shot back. "Exactly," Sam replied. "If he wasn't home, how could he possibly have given you permission?" Patricia's eyes darted between the footage and the floor. "This is entrapment. He set me up." "Patricia," I said, "I left my spare key on the boat after doing maintenance. I had no idea you'd sneak onto my dock in the middle of the night and steal it." "You have an app that stops the engine. You shut it off on purpose." "Yes," I said calmly, "I have a remote safety app that can disable the engine if there's suspicious activity." When I saw my boat's GPS showing it speeding across the lake after midnight, I activated the shutdown. "That's standard anti-theft." "So, you admit you were tracking me?" "I was tracking my stolen property," I corrected. "Just like anyone would if someone took their car." Sam played back the 911 call next. "Ms. Stone, in your call, you claimed Mr. Mitchell let you borrow the boat, but also that he trapped you and tried to hurt you. Which version is true?" "Yeah, broken bar, I was scared," she stammered. "I wasn't thinking clearly." "And you took it for a short tried to help you sleep at 1:30 a.m., Sam pressed. "At 50 miles per hour across a dark lake?" Patricia slumped into silence. "Fine," she muttered at last. "I took his stupid boat." "But he deserved it. He's been harassing me for months." "Patricia," I said softly, "you've filed 23 complaints against me, hired a pie, tried to sabotage my boat twice, and now you've stolen it." "I've documented everything." Brooks shook his head. 2 years on the force, and I've never seen someone build such a thorough case against themselves." Sam closed his notepad, handcuffs ready. But as reality sank in, would Patricia finally tell the truth? Drop a comment. Will she finally admit guilt or keep blaming me? Type guilty if you think she'll crack, or deny if you think she'll keep denying. Within 48 hours, word spread through Pine Lake like wildfire. The same HOA president who had written dozens of noise complaints had stolen a neighbor's boat and triggered a midnight police chase. Mrs. Henderson quickly called an emergency home meeting with a single item on the agenda: remove Patricia Stone from the board immediately. Out on bail and facing criminal charges, Patricia tried to spin the narrative. She sent a mass email claiming she'd been targeted by a harassment campaign, that I'd used illegal surveillance to trap her, and manipulated police with fake evidence. It backfired spectacularly. Previously neutral neighbors now saw her as paranoid and dangerous. Dozens sent me supportive messages, some apologizing, others thanking me for handling things legally instead of just selling and leaving. When the vote came, it wasn't even close. 34-0 to remove her. Even people on vacation sent proxy votes. It was the biggest turnout in HOA history. Facing criminal charges and total social exile, Patricia scraped together $500 to hire Jim Morris, a lawyer whose career had mostly involved DUIs and small claims. His defense was blunt: "Your Honor, my client was entrapped." Mr. Mitchell deliberately left his key, knowing she'd take it. The prosecutor barely needed to respond: "Leaving your own property's key on your own boat is not entrapment. Ms. Stone stole it and lied to police." Judge Martinez reviewed the evidence: security footage, GPS logs, the 911 call, and Patricia's contradictory statements. "Ms. Stone," he asked, "do you have any evidence Mr. Mitchell gave you permission to use his boat?" Patricia, who had already fired Morrison mid-trial after he suggested she plead guilty, snapped, "I don't need written permission. I was the HOA president." "Yeah, I had the authority to investigate violations of community standards," Patricia insisted. "And what violations, exactly, were you investigating at 1:30 a.m.? the judge asked. "Noise pollution, safety violations, possibly illegal use of the lake," Patricia rattled off. "He could have been doing something criminal, by stealing the boat yourself and racing it across the water at high speed." "I was gathering evidence of his reckless behavior," she argued, voice growing thin. Judge Martinez had heard enough. "Ms. Stone, you stole a motor vehicle, lied to the police, and wasted emergency resources. Your former role as HOA president did nota and does not give you authority to take someone else's property." The sentence came swiftly: 6 months in jail, suspended 2 years probation, $8,000 in fines, 200 hours of community service, a lifetime ban from any HOA leadership position, and a 5-year restraining order prohibiting any contact with me or my property. Patricia's removal sparked an immediate, visible change at Pine Lake. The new HOA board, led by Mrs. Miller, a retired teacher unrelated to me despite the NEMIA, shifted focus to actual community building rather than constant enforcement. Rules were rewritten with common sense. Complaints had to be documented and specific. No more than 1 complaint per resident per month. All fines required a 3-person committee review. Surveillance and hiring private investigators were banned. Board meetings now centered around neighborhood improvement projects rather than punishment. A good neighbor policy encouraged residents to speak directly with each other before filing formal complaints. And they introduced what locals jokingly called the Patricia Stone rule. Any HOA officer facing more than 3 legitimate harassment complaints would automatically be reviewed by the board. At the first HOA meeting after Patricia's departure, I got an unexpected standing ovation. "Thank you," I told them, feeling awkward under the applause. "But really, I just documented everything and trusted the system to work." Mrs. Henderson rose and said, "Jake, you showed us we don't have to accept bullying from people in power. You stood up for all of us." The new board voted unanimously to issue me an official apology for Patricia's harassment, reimburse my legal expenses and security equipment costs, and create a Neighbor Appreciation Day to celebrate community rather than conflict. They also established a memorial fund for community projects in Harold's name, which felt deeply right. Life returned to normal, or rather, it became better than it had ever been. My morning boat commute was once again just that, a peaceful ride across calm water. Neighbors waved from docks. Kids asked to see Thunderbolt up close. Parents quietly thanked me for what I'd done. Property values climbed as word spread that Pine Lake had gone from HOA nightmare to model neighborhood. The security cameras around my dock were repurposed into a volunteer community watch system, helping neighbors keep an eye on each other's property, especially during vacations. Patricia, meanwhile, finished her court-mandated community service cleaning up state park beaches and attended anger management classes. She sold her lake house at a loss and moved into a downtown condo. Rumor had it she tried to run for president of her new building's tenant association, but residents found the boat theft story online and politely declined. 3 months later, I hosted a small barbecue on my deck. 25 neighbors showed up, and more than had gathered socially at Pine Lake in years. As the sun set over the water, my phone buzzed. A message from Sam. Heard Patricia finally finished her community service. How's the neighborhood? I looked around at neighbors laughing and kids playing near the dock, then typed back, perfect, couldn't be better. Comment below. Do you think I deserve this happy ending? Type hero if you think I handled Patricia perfectly, or karma if you think she got exactly what she deserved. 6 months later, Pine Lake had fully transformed into what everyone always hoped it could be. Instead of endless complaints, the HOA focused on social events and neighborly connections. Monthly lake day brought families together, and a new community boat safety course taught kids how to respect the water. Property values went up by 12%, partly because new buyers heard about Pine Lake's dramatic turnaround. I settled into my new unofficial role as the neighborhood tech guy, fixing Wi-Fi, helping seniors set up phones, and teaching teenagers boat maintenance basics. My daily boat commute became something of a local legend. Kids waved as I passed. On weekends, I sometimes offered rides, inspiring a few future boat engineers. Patricia, meanwhile, faded from community life. Her attempt to regain power failed quietly, and over time, she became just an odd footnote in Pine Lake's history, known mostly by new residents who asked about the HOA boat incident. I rarely thought of her anymore except when retelling the story to curious newcomers. It became a local tale of caution and of change, how one person could try to bend the rules, and how a neighborhood learned to stand together. On a sunny Saturday morning late that summer, I was tinkering with Thunderbolt when Mrs. Miller approached, a mysterious smile on her face. Behind her came a small crowd of neighbors. "Jake, could you help gather everyone for a quick announcement?" she asked. "I have some very good news about our community." Within 20 minutes, the deck and dock were full of neighbors, buzzing with curiosity. Mrs. Miller had kept this quiet, only hinting it was the best news Pine Lake had heard in years. She stepped forward, excitement in her voice. "Thank you all for coming," she began. "As you know, we've been through a lot this year, and through it all, we've learned the real power of fair leadership, good neighborhood, and what it means to stand up for each other." Heads nodded. Neighbors exchanged glances, waiting to hear what came next. I could tell something big was coming. A few neighbors were already grinning like they were in on the secret. "Well," Mrs. Miller announced, her excitement obvious, "I'm thrilled to share that Pine Lake is about to welcome a very special new neighbor, specifically, at 47 Lakeshore Drive." Every eye turned toward Patricia's old house, which had sat empty for 6 months. "Our new resident," she continued, "is someone who's already shown dedication to our community's safety and well-being. Someone who knows how to handle difficult situations with fairness and professionalism, and who understands what it really means to protect a neighborhood." Just then, Sam stepped out from behind the house next door, wearing a Pine Lake t-shirt and grinning from ear to ear. Surprise! The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. I just stood there, stunned. "Some broken bar you bought Patricia's house? Got it for 20% below market value," he said with a laugh. "Turns out having your previous owner arrested for stealing a boat in the middle of the night really hurts resale value." Mrs. Henderson spoke up, voicing what everyone was thinking. "So does this mean we now have our very own police officer living here full-time?" Sam raised an eyebrow playfully. "Well, I can't offer official police services just because I live here," he said, "but let's just say Pine Lake now has someone with law enforcement experience around 24/7, a broken bar for friendly neighborly advice." The cheers got even louder. Neighbors pulled out snacks and drinks that had clearly been planned ahead of time. I pulled Sam aside, still trying to process it. "Okay, tell me the truth. How long have you been planning this?" "Since the night I arrested Patricia," he said, still smiling. When the house went up for sale a couple months later, I knew it was perfect, close to work, great lake access, a broken bar, and the most effective neighbor screening process you could ask for. Neighbor screening process? Think about it, he said. Anyone crazy enough to steal a boat and call 911 to blame the victim has already been weeded out. This neighborhood is basically pre-tested for sanity and common sense. I laughed. So you're saying Patricia's meltdown ended up being like quality control for the whole community? Exactly, Sam grinned. Plus, I've always wanted lakefront property, and your daily boat commute convinced me water beats traffic any day. Then he pulled out his phone and showed me a boating app. I got a boat too. Nothing as fancy as Thunderbolt, but it's got GPS tracking and remote engine control. You didn't, I teased. Learn from the best, Sam said, though hopefully, I won't need to use the theft recovery feature here. Looking around, we saw kids playing safely by the water, neighbors chatting, and laughter drifting across the dock. The difference from a year ago when everyone felt tense and watchita was remarkable. You know what the best part is? Sam asked. What? For years, Patricia tried to control this place with fear and intimidation. Now it's protected by someone who actually understands what community policing really means. I raised my beer. To poetic justice. Sam clinked bottles with me. To the most expensive boat theft in Pine Lake history. 1 year later, Pine Lake held its first annual Community Safety and Fun Day. Families came together for boat safety demos, neighborhood watch workshops, water sports, and a massive potluck dinner. Sam and I co-hosted, talking to residents about GPS trackers, security cameras, and water safety, always reminding everyone that tech should protect privacy, not invade it. During the evening barbecue, Mrs. Miller surprised me with a plaque, in appreciation for proving that standing up to bullies benefits everyone and for reminding us that patience and documentation can defeat harassment. The crowd applauded, and for a moment, I just took it all in. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Sawyer Community Event photos online. Looks wonderful. Hope you're all very happy together. I showed it to Sam. He shrugged. Probably best to delete it and enjoy the party. Agreed, I said, deleting the message and turning my phone face down. Looking around, I saw kids laughing by the water, neighbors sharing stories, and Sam flipping burgers in an apron that read officer friendly. It hit me. One person's obsession with control had, by accident, sparked the creation of the community we'd always wanted. Sometimes, the best outcomes really do come from the worst moments. As the sun set, I noticed a for sale sign going up at another house across the lake. I nudged Sam. Think we should run a background check on whoever buys that one? Sam grinned. Already on it. This neighborhood has standards to keep. The perfect community was about to get even better. Hit that like button if you think Sam and I make the perfect neighbor team. Comment perfect if you'd love to live somewhere like Pine Lake, or share your own horror stories below. And don't forget to subscribe because karma stories like this don't write themselves. Still here? You're officially one of us now. Subscribe to Base Stories and binge like your group chat depends on it.